Back with Bobby and JJ Radio, we have Pete Hero. He's a co-founder of the San Antonio Healthcare Alliance. He's also a certified financial planner. We also have Miss Alicia Haff. She's a lawyer that's kind of had her passion in this Affordable Care Act and has done that since 2010. Let's jump right back into a question for both of you or either one of you. So you mentioned some of these companies or this company that you're working with in particular. What are some of the other challenges that you're seeing working through all this stuff?
Well, honestly, beyond the fact that the employers are in this world, number one, they got to understand what the rules are and what apply to them. What sandbox are you going to have to play in, basically? Are you small group and you got certain rules? Are you over 50 and you got other rules?
Right.
But beyond that, honest to goodness, what it's come down to, be it whether or not it's intended or not, is tracking. Right. And being able to prove your size, who's eligible, when they're eligible, and being able to report it. Because at the end of the day, the IRS is requiring all employers with 50 or more this year to report on something they call the 1094, 1095C forms. And the 1095C form, honest to goodness, looks like a W-2 on steroids. It is somewhat terrifying.
Sure.
But that's
You're scaring me.
I know. So that's why you got to track.
Right.
Yeah, no, knowing the rules is just essential to what we're doing now. And like Alicia said, it's a challenge. It's not really a problem. It's just a challenge that we're faced with. And one of the quotes that I use when I'm doing these workshops that I like to use, it's one by Einstein. It says, you have to learn the rules of the game and then play better than anyone else. And so that's where Alicia really helps with knowing the rules, and that's what we do.
So you can start seeing more of like IRS coming out and checking your numbers to make sure that people are working the hours that you're saying they're working. Is that
yeah,
a new
no,
issue?
Because and exactly. So if there's an issue with the IRS, what they're going to do is they're going to just assume all of your W-2 employees are all full-time. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to send you a notice and say, oh, I know that you're telling me that you're a small group and that you're not subject to this mandate. And by the way, the small group mandate is for 50 full-time equivalents. And we can talk about that if we need to. But if you determine on your own that you're at less than 50 full-time equivalents, and there's a question at the IRS, they'll send you a notice and they say, hey, we've got 80 W-2s on file. You're a large company employer, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. But the other thing is you got to remember you got 3 regulatory entities, and this is why this law is so complicated. We have 3 regulatory entities monitoring this. You got the Department of Health and Human Services, who manages the marketplace. They're the ones who get everybody enrolled, decide whether or not somebody's eligible for subsidies. Then you got the IRS that's in charge of going and getting the monies from pay-or-play folks to pay for the subsidies. And then you've got the Department of Labor, who's also involved, and that goes back to your question on hours. Yeah, they're involved in enforcement. Are you offering coverage to who you're supposed to be offering coverage when? And just to give you an idea of how massive this has gotten, OSHA actually has a website that employees who feel like they've been cut and not allowed to have benefits when they should have, they can go on the website and file a complaint, and OSHA's going to come visit and audit.
So that's why every single big company needs to call you, Alicia, because it seems like a complicated web of
Wow.
And not only that, small companies. It's the game has changed.
So let's talk about these rules, though, Pete. Let's talk about the rules that we really got to concentrate on as far as what we're going to look out for.
Yeah.
What's rule number 1?
To me, rule number 1 in my book is it's definitely compliance.
Okay.
And it's to comply with the requirements of the law, whether you're, like Alicia said, which sandbox you're playing in, whether you're a small employer or a large employer. But right there, right next to it, I would say 1A and 1B is to know that the tax benefits, tax credit, they matter. They matter to employers. I like to state this one fact. It's that the largest tax break in this country, number 1 at the top of the list, is the deduction that we get, the pre-tax contributions to employer-sponsored health insurance. That's $317 billion in tax benefits that employers are receiving. And this is a good thing, by the way. Okay, so that's number 1 on the list. So that matters. So you want to be able to preserve that if you possibly can. And then on the employee side, and whichever way you lean on this, but there are many employees that qualify for tax credits, and there's some small employers that also qualify for tax credits. So in this increasing cost environment, because the cost of health insurance has gone up.
Sure.
We
need all the help
you need the tax credits and the tax benefits to offset that. So exactly.
Sure.
So it's to maximize those tax credits. And so to know that, rule number one.
What's Sandbox?
What's it?
And also, what are the credits that you can get as an employer?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then between the two of those, I feel that as an employer, like, we were speaking of earlier when you met with us, I mean, we really started to look at the numbers and how, there was almost a chance that we created more benefit for our staff, that it would actually make us money.
Right.
Almost. It would wash it out.
Right. I'm not saying that we're going to make a whole bunch, but I think in your case we made about $500.
Yeah, $500 to give full coverage
to give full coverage
instead of half coverage to employees.
Exactly.
To that point though, that goes back to adversity breeds opportunity.
Right.
And you asked about 2009 versus today. That's one of the things we've seen, which is where Pete comes in and is so incredibly effective. The rules are different. The options are different, and you have options that you've never had before to go create what you need for your workforce, as long as you got a good broker.
Well, at those prices, nothing's too good for our employees.
Yeah, plus 500.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.